Good morning, my friends. Welcome back. It is time for us to get our minds aligned with the truth of God. And that, as you can tell from yesterday's episode, can be a challenge at times because the truth of God often reveals things to us that we do not think of on our own. In fact, things that would never come to us if we were just left to our own devices. The passage we looked at yesterday in 1 Peter chapter 3 is a great example of that because it speaks about an issue that is very countercultural. It is an issue that some people would read and say, oh, that's an ancient concept, it's very taboo, it's not for modern culture. But I believe the Word of God is relevant for today. It is not some ancient document that doesn't touch us where we live today. In fact, passages like the one that we're looking at now in 1 Peter chapter 3 are as relevant as they can be because they take us back to a mindset. And hear that word carefully today. Mindset. It's a way of thinking. It's an attitude that we desperately need in our culture. Now, the subject that we're talking about is maybe what you would want to call the S word. It's submission. It's a word that is a hot button. It's one that nobody really likes to talk about because it sounds like, at first glance, we are subjecting one person to another in some way that does damage to the first person who's doing the submitting. But that is not what Peter, the apostle, is saying in this passage. He has addressed the way that wives are expected by God to submit to their husbands. And we talked yesterday about what that does not mean. One thing it does not mean is that they check their brains at the door and that they have no way of being themselves or thinking for themselves. That is not the case. You can read this passage and see that. Now let's go on, and we're going to see some other things it does not mean to submit to one's husband. We're going to pick it up in chapter 3, verse number 2, where he has just said that wives were to submit to their husbands so that if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives when they see their respectful and pure conduct. And now verse 3, do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of hair and the putting on of gold jewelry or the clothing you wear, but let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is very precious. Now notice what he's getting at here. He's getting at the attitude, demeanor, and character of a woman's heart. That is what matters to God more than anything else. In fact, notice there, he says that when a woman is focusing on making her inner self beautiful, that is something which is precious in God's sight. You see, and now, of course, men need to be working on their inner character as well, but it takes on a particular slant when it is the character of a woman that we're speaking about. And that's how Peter is addressing this. Now, he does this by making a contrast. He contrasts the external beauty, which we all can see, with the internal beauty. And he's contrasting them by way of focus. He's saying, don't focus just on your external beauty, women. Let that sink in for a moment. Man, women are beautiful. I will happily admit that. I believe my wife is one of the most beautiful creatures I've ever seen. And I am thankful for that. But Peter is saying, as important as that may be to a woman, that's not the only beauty they should focus on. In fact, it's not the main beauty they should focus on. They should focus on their inner beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which God says is very precious. Now, notice what he's not saying. He's not saying women should shut up. He's not saying women should not have opinions of their own. He's not saying they should not be strong as a woman. But he's saying there's something about their spirit, something in the way they conduct themselves in relationships and in society that has a touch of gentleness to it, that has a touch of quietness to it, that is respectful, is the feeling that I'm getting here. Man, don't leave. We've got more of this to discuss. I know it's difficult to swallow, but tomorrow's Morning Mindset is going to clarify a lot of things for us. So join me again.